After hearing from the non-offending paedophiles and talking to Luke Malone and getting his perspective on paedophilia, I decided it was time to talk to an expert with first-hand experience of treating paedophiles to see whether he would agree with Luke's assessment and the view of the paedophiles themselves. So we've come to Genoa to meet Dr. Cosimo Schinaia. He's a well-known psychiatrist who's treated several paedophiles. He's going to share with us his philosophy about how best to treat non-offending paedophiles. We wanted to find out more from Dr. Schinaia about the behaviours of non-offending paedophiles and the nature of paedophilia itself. While Luke Malone's research has led him to believe that paedophilia is innate, Dr. Schinaia has a different view on this.
E qual è la causa della pedofilia? Che è una domanda a cui non si può dare un'unica risposta. Ci sono certamente origini di tipo familiare, di tipo sociale, microsociale e macrosociale. Ci sono anche delle ipotesi di ordine biologico. Non c'è però nessuna relazione precisa tra questi dati e la reale origine. Quello che noi possiamo pensare è una multifattorialità e una concausalità. Ci sono differenti comportamenti di ordine psicopatologico ma anche di ordine sociale. Allora il problema non è quello di distinguere in assoluto i non-offending pedophiles dagli offending pedophiles, ma qual è la patologia, la psicopatologia di base per poter poi eventualmente intervenire anche quando non c'è stato un comportamento pedofilo, però c'è una sofferenza individuale e c'è anche il rischio che il comportamento da non offending possa diventare offending.
Dr. Schinaia went on to tell me about some of the most common characteristics shared by non-offending paedophiles.
Generally, non-offending pedophile appartengono alle categorie per esempio dei preti, degli educatori, degli allenatori di sport, cioè di quelle categorie che sono degli insegnanti, che sono molto a contatto appunto con i bambini. E molto spesso una delle caratteristiche che accomuna questi non-offending pedophile è l'idea di essere dei genitori perfetti, cioè di essere molto più bravi dei genitori reali e che quindi loro in questo modo riparano i genitori terribili che loro hanno avuto. Più frequentemente hanno la costruzione di un bambino che che ha bisogno di amore, che ha bisogno di cura, che ha bisogno di attenzione. È quella che viene chiamata anche romantic pedophilia, no? Non è meno grave dal mio punto di vista, è più frequente che i non-offending pedophiles siano nevrotici. Non è detto che i non-offending pedophile siano necessariamente nevrotici, perché la categoria dei non-offending pedophiles non è una categoria medica, non è una categoria psichiatrica, ma è una categoria di ordine legale. Non si può mai generalizzare. Un'altra generalizzazione, per esempio molto frequente, parte da una constatazione anche statistica reale che la maggior parte dei pedofili sono stati abusati, perpetrated, quando erano bambini. Ma non è assolutamente vero che tutti i bambini che sono stati violentati hanno come destino quello di diventare pedofili.
Gary was abused by a man when he was 10 years old. If anyone can tell me about the emotional impact of child abuse, then it's surely him.
There's lots of... It's had an impact in lots of different ways, in different circumstances. Kind of in the aftermath of it, it was... I was very young. I was 10 years old when it happened. So for me, I didn't really have the necessary emotional depth to deal with it, or even recognise that I had been a victim of abuse in a way. And it was only when I then started to realise my own sexuality that kind of all of those memories came back, and it is something that you always live with. It's something that you have to accept if you want to kind of live healthily and happily. And I think the biggest part was removing any feelings of shame and any feelings of me causing it myself, because of I'm a gay man now. I wasn't when I was 10, or I was when I was 10, but I had in no way a part in what happened, and letting go of that guilt was probably the biggest challenge for me.
I guess as someone who has suffered at the hands of a paedophile, is it a challenge to even think of the idea that there might be ethical paedophiles who are born that way and are doing everything that they can to try to not to offend?
I think if you think of it as a disease, most people, when they have a disease, go and seek help for it. So in my mind, I think because I have a personal attachment to it, it's very hard to be objective, I suppose. But I think if anyone admits they have this disease and they go and seek help for it, I wouldn't say I'd applaud it as such, but I think that's much more preferable than actually letting it take effect and abuse children, of course.
If even some victims of child abuse themselves are open to the idea of non-offending paedophiles being given help, then you might think that's the end of the debate. Unfortunately, however, as Dr. Schinaia told us, treating paedophiles is not always that easy.
In alcune società occidentali, come per esempio gli Stati Uniti, non vengono riconosciuti. Cioè la pedofilia immediatamente viene catalogata con la child molestation. E allora questo è uno degli aspetti appunto centrali. Se io voglio essere curato, devo essere messo nelle condizioni di poterlo fare senza che questo diventi per me qualcosa di estremamente dannoso. Chi vorrebbe andare da uno psicoterapeuta teme poi che possa essere riconosciuto come pedofilo e quindi come potenziale child molester. Ed è terribile perché la maggior parte poi delle persone decidono di curarsi dopo che hanno commesso un reato e va curato, è importante appunto che vada curato. Ed è importante anche che venga riconosciuto, perché né in Inghilterra né in Italia viene sufficientemente curata la pedofilia. E certo l'ideale sarebbe costruire dei team che possano dare in una condizione di anonimato ascolto eventualmente costituendo anche dei gruppi, dei gruppi di terapia, quindi lavoro individuale, lavoro di gruppo, lavoro con le famiglie, però è molto difficile.
Okay, well thanks very much anyway. Thanks, bye-bye. We wanted to talk to both the prison service and the police and put to them what we've been finding out about non-offending paedophiles so that they could comment. But both the prison service and the police told us that we would first need to get the permission of the Home Office or the Ministry of Justice before they would take part. And unfortunately, neither the Home Office nor the Ministry of Justice would agree to talk to us.
One organisation that was happy to talk to me about the situation in the UK was the Lucy Faithfull Foundation. I went to Epsom to speak to its manager Donald Findlater, who runs the Stop It Now campaign, which aims to protect children from abuse through its telephone helpline. The phone line is open to anyone, whether it's the parent of a child, the child themselves, or a person worried about their sexual feelings towards children.
One is public education. We believe that much more sexual abuse is preventable if the public better understood the problem and better understood the face of those who might offend, as well as the vulnerabilities of those who might be victims. So we have a campaign to raise public awareness that ultimately its aim is to get the public more cited on steps they can do to prevent children from being sexually abused. Not only we work with people after they've done harm so that they don't do it again, but surely more important, we work with people before they've done the harm that they themselves are worried that they might do. And that just seems a sensible approach. Let's help people not do the harm that they themselves are troubled about. I mean, our helpline is funded in part by the Ministry of Justice. I guess that says to me they believe there's something in what we're doing, there's a value to it. The Home Office have come to us recently asking us to help them design some better interventions for online offenders, not to arrest them, but to help them not do it either at all or to keep doing it if they've started. So the Home Office recognise that we have some solutions that they need and that we're able to deploy. So they're supporting us delivering these things. For many men and women with troubled by sexual thoughts about children, this is a very lonely place to be, and the fear of being known, being understood, to have those thoughts, I think, is kind of creates enormous distress and dismay for those individuals, and sometimes suicidal thoughts. So for those individuals who are aware of their sexual thoughts involving children, then we're trying to be there to say there is a place you can call where we will deal with you with a kind of non-judgmental approach. We will actually regard you as a human being with a problem that we can support you with.
We have a confidentiality policy, so you don't have to give me your full name or any other identifying details. But if you do give me details which identify as a child who has been, is being, or is at risk of being abused, we have to pass the information on.
Because they have mandatory reporting laws in the US, that their calls from people troubled by their sexual thoughts, they started in 92, 93, 94 to start climbing up. When they brought the mandatory reporting laws into the US, they stopped entirely. So the people looking for help for their own troublesome thoughts stopped calling because they were worried they would be exposed and they were going to end up on the wrong side of a police officer or a social worker. There are some kind of forums for people that might define themselves as minor attracted adults who would believe that actually this is a sexual orientation, that they have no choice, there's no changes possible, and therefore the option that they would choose by joining these forums is to behave well. So they're not going to behave badly towards a child, but just to accept themselves with this sexual interest in children that they can think about but can't do anything more about, and they will talk about with their peers. Well, I believe there is greater changes possible for those people than they may accept, and I think there is a positive, good life with a sexual interest in adults that will be achievable by some of those men, not all of those men, that by some of them, if they recognise that help was available, and we are an organisation that can make the help available, that over time, through a number of kind of clinical kind of processes, that we can help people diminish their sexual interest in children and increase their sexual arousal to adults. The fact if you join a forum of minor attracted adults, you almost like abandon the hope of ever doing that. So you just accept yourself, and then that is a more limited life than I think many of them need to lead.
Dr. Schinaia is also sceptical about online forums, but for different reasons.
Credo che da un lato l'esperienza possa essere una buona esperienza di sostegno emotivo, il sapere che il problema può essere affrontato, e questo è importante. Il rischio poi è di pensare in modo un po' onnipotente che questi gruppi possano poi curare e risolvere la situazione, perché il rischio è che quello che è un mental disorder, un serious mental disorder, possa poi diventare invece una sorta di stato naturale che va accettato. Può capire che cosa può aver determinato il vissuto pedofilo di una persona che anche nasconde molto bene la cosa, cioè lo vive ecco, come fatto personale, soltanto non tanto attraverso il gruppo, per esempio, ma attraverso una relazione psicoterapeutica.
The experts we've spoken to don't agree on everything, but one thing does seem to be clear, that in many cases paedophilia is a treatable disorder, and that it is possible, if somebody wants to be helped, to make it much less likely that they will go on to abuse a child. But for that to happen, Dr. Schinaia has told us that you need to create the right conditions in our Western societies to make it possible for someone to come forward and seek help. At the moment, it seems that it's much easier for us to lock someone up and make sure they're out of harm's way once they've actually offended. And much more difficult in our societies to decide what the best way is to actually help someone if they haven't actually offended. And if it's true, as Donald Findlater has said, that there are millions of people in our Western societies who at some point in their lives are concerned or troubled by feelings towards children, then we really have an enormous problem on our hands. He would argue that if you demonize all of them and treat them all in the same way, then you're just going to push a large proportion of people to the margins of society and end up making it more likely, and not less, that they're going to end up abusing someone like Gary, who's then going to have to try and pick up the emotional pieces. So it seems that the argument from non-offending paedophiles and from the experts is very similar. That if there really are people who are troubled by their feelings and want to be helped to make sure that they never actually go on to abuse, then we should be doing all we can to help them. Because if we end up stopping even just a few children from being abused, then surely that's a very worthwhile investment for us to be making.
We need to make sure they get help so that they don't do the harm that we don't want them to do.
I think it's just trying to communicate to people that if we want to reduce sexual abuse, we should speak to people that's like to abuse and see what we can do to help.
I don't want the next newspaper headline about the next child that was harmed and think, gosh, we should have done some preventative work, because we can do that preventative work if only we have an appetite and a vision to do that.
Ogni volta che si riesce ad evitare la recidiva o ad evitare o a lavorare perché appunto un pedofilo poi possa avere una vita, diciamo, socialmente accettabile, facciamo un dono al pedofilo, ma facciamo un dono anche alla società.